By the late 20th century, a new breed of money managers is emerging. Paul Tudor Jones is one of the most profitable traders ever, who through sheer willpower and calculated risk-taking, turned a small-time hedge fund into an empire.
That actually, if I think back, that might be the biggest miss that I had in my career. I started out working as a broker, and back then it was great because 21 years old, to come in, you take the Series 7, it literally took 2 weeks to study and pass it, and then they handed you, at least in the commodity division, E.F. Hutton, gave me a book on technical analysis of stock trends by McGee and Edwards. Tell me, read that. I read it. Go home, read it again. I read it. Go home, read it again. I read it. You're ready to trade. You're ready to open accounts. I'd say within 4 weeks, I was trying to talk my parents' friends into opening accounts and let me trade. And at 21, it was literally hilarious. But that's how I started. And then ultimately, as I started trading these accounts, the guy that I worked for that originally hired me was the greatest cotton speculator in the world. His name was Eli Tullis, so he'd sent me to New York City. I guess I was up here for 6 months working on the floor. Then I went back to New Orleans. That's another long story. Came back to New York, and during that period of time, I enjoyed so much the interaction with all my customers. I've always been, I think, a sociable person, so I enjoyed that so much. That we were making money and talking to them all the time, but then after a while I realized I could do so much better if I just traded for myself, because the commissions back then were, and this is going to make you really excited, were $90 a contract. I had 2 phenomenal learning periods where I lost everything. Like I had $10,000 and went down to zero. And then I made back like $20,000 and then went down to zero. And I remember, this is when you're 22, it's 1978 or 9. That's just, a gargantuan amount of money. And I remember my father coming to me 3rd time and said, "You've got to get in something safe like real estate."
Exactly.
London. I said, no, I'm going to stick with this, and the rest is history. But I guess the point was, it was so funny, I guess by 1980, I was doing pretty well, and in 1980, my father kept going, "You've got to do something respectable." So I applied to Harvard Business School and got in, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go up there, and what is this place going to teach me? That I was already doing, I was probably making a couple of $1 million a year trading my own account, which was a fortune back then. And the weekend before I was supposed to go, I was loading up the U-Haul to drive to Boston and just said, this is crazy. They're not going to teach me anything about this, and this may disappear. So I never went and continued trading. Is this definition of capitalism sustainable? And I think Marie Antoinette would be a great example of no, it's probably not. And it's funny because the father of capitalism was Adam Smith, and Adam Smith said, if justice is removed, the great immense fabric of society will in a moment dissipate into atoms. And I think if we just think about what's happened over the past 30 years, that's not just. Hopefully, what this little idea here is, through social norming, through changing people's perceptions, every culture is based on what our peers think is right.